My name is Adria Lawson, and I'm 37 years old. If you'd asked me a couple of months ago to describe my life, I would have said it was settled. Not fireworks and violins, but solid. I had a good job in corporate consulting, a small but beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood, and a boyfriend I'd been with for 8 years. His name is Mason. We weren't married. People always assumed we were, though. We'd been together so long, lived together so long, that boyfriend sounded almost too small. We shared bills, holidays, friends, inside jokes. I paid the mortgage. He worked on and off in creative fields and always promised his big break was just around the corner. I used to believe that. The day everything fell apart started with a canceled flight. I was supposed to connect through Chicago and fly home the next morning, but a storm snapped through the Midwest and my connection got wiped off the board. Standing there in the airport with a rolling suitcase and a lukewarm coffee, I refreshed my airline app and saw an earlier direct flight to my city had one seat left. I grabbed it without thinking. I remember smiling to myself. I'd stop by Mason's favorite Thai place on the way home, show up at the front door with curry and spring rolls. Maybe we'd watch something dumb, fall asleep on the couch. An extra night together. A small, quiet gift. I let myself into the house just after 5 p.m. It was too quiet, no TV, no music. Just the faint echo of a voice from down the hall. I set the takeout bags on the kitchen counter, my keys making a soft clink in the bowl. That's when I heard it. Mason's laugh. High, light, a little boyish. A sound I hadn't heard aimed at me in a long time. God, I wish you were here instead, he was saying. I froze. My heart did this weird skip-stutter thing in my chest. I followed the sound to the living room. He was sprawled on his couch, half a bottle of wine on the coffee table, phone in his hand, held up at that familiar angle. He was in his favorite gray sweatpants and nothing else, chest bare, hair a mess, like he'd been running his hands through it over and over. On the screen was a woman, younger, maybe mid-20s, long dark hair tumbling over one shoulder, sitting on a bed with rumpled sheets behind her. Her tank top was more suggestion than fabric. She saw me first. Her eyes went wide. Mason didn't see me until I cleared my throat. He literally jumped, almost dropping the phone. Adria? He scrambled upright, fumbling with the screen. You're home early. Why are you early? Flight got changed, I said. My voice sounded weirdly calm, like it belonged to someone else. Who's that? Nobody, he said too quickly, angling the phone away from me. Just book club stuff. Book club, I repeated. His so-called book club met every other week at an upscale wine bar. I'd never seen it require daily video calls with half-empty bottles on our coffee table and his good cologne lingering in the air. Let me see the phone, I said. It's just a friend. God, why are you being weird? I hadn't been the jealous type. 8 years together, I'd never checked his phone, never questioned his guys' nights, never demanded to know where he was every second. But the way he clutched that phone now, fingers white-knuckled and shaking, set off every alarm inside me. I walked over before he could stop me and looked at the screen. The girl, woman, whatever, stared back at me, eyes wide, lips parted. Her face went pale. Behind her, I could see the edge of a poster, a string of fairy lights, a cheap dresser. Definitely a bedroom. She said. Then the call cut off. I looked at the blank screen, then at him. So, I said, that's not book club. He stood up too fast, wobbling a little. Day drinking and lying. Fantastic combination. Before you jump to conclusions. How long? I asked. It's really not what it looks like, he said. How long have you been sleeping with her? He froze, bit his lip, looked anywhere but at me. A few months, he muttered. How many is a few? Does it matter? He snapped, grabbing the wine bottle and pouring more into his glass with shaking hands. Yeah, I said. Actually, it does. He stared into the glass. 4, okay? 4 months. 4 months. While I'd been working 70, 80-hour weeks on a huge client project. While I'd been paying his car note because he was between gigs. While I'd been planning a surprise weekend trip for our 9th anniversary. What's her name? I asked. He swallowed. That's not important. It is if I'm calling her to come get you. His head snapped up. What? Something inside me flipped off like a light switch. Not rage. Rage would have meant I still saw him as someone who could hurt me. This was colder. I thought about the $18,000 of credit card debt I'd paid off for him when we moved in together. The 3 different career pivots I'd carried us through. His mother's constant, subtle digs about how I worked too much and wasn't soft enough for her precious boy. I thought about that girl on the screen, looking at me like I was the intruder. You heard me, I said. Call her. Tell her to come get you. Adria, no. Stop. He reached for my arm. I stepped back. There's nothing to talk about, I said. You want her? Go be with her. It was a mistake, he said quickly. I'll end it right now. I swear, it's not serious. Cool, I said. Still leaving, though. I turned and walked down the hall to our bedroom. He followed, babbling. Adria, please don't do this. We can fix it. We can go to counseling. I'll block her number. I opened the closet and pulled out his 2 biggest suitcases. His voice rose. What are you doing? Packing, I said. I started throwing his clothes in. Jeans, t-shirts, button-downs I'd bought him for interviews he never showed up to. Those matching jogger sets he wore when he said he was editing video all day, and then somehow had nothing to show for it. Please stop, he whispered. Where am I supposed to go? Her place, probably, I said, since you've been spending so much time thinking about her anyway. She's not my girlfriend, he said. I stopped, turned, really looked at him. What is she then? He opened his mouth, closed it, no answer. So I kept packing. Shoes, belts, his colognes, the stupid designer hoodie he'd begged me to put on my card just this once, into the bags. He was full on crying now. Took me maybe half an hour to get most of his stuff together. I dragged both suitcases down the hall. The wheels thunked over the entryway threshold. He collapsed onto the couch, sobbing into the throw pillow he used when he watched late-night movies without me. Give me her number, I said. No. Then I'm putting your stuff on the lawn and calling it a day. You can't do this to me, he choked. Her number or the lawn, I said. Pick one. His shoulders shook. Finally, he rattled off the digits. I put the call on speaker. She answered on the 3rd ring. Hello? Hi, I said. My voice came out eerily calm. Is this Sienna? Silence. Who is this? I'm Adria, I said. Mason's girlfriend. Or I was until about an hour ago. You've been having a good 4 months together, right? Dead silence. Here's the situation, I continued. He needs somewhere to stay. Like, permanently. I'm done, so you can come pick him and his stuff up, or I'm leaving it on the curb. You've got 30 minutes to decide. More silence. Then, she said, we don't have that kind of relationship. What kind of relationship do you have? I asked. It's casual, she said quickly. Very casual. I have roommates. He can't just move in. It was just for fun. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. Let me get this straight, I said. You've been hooking up with my boyfriend for 4 months in your roommate's apartment, but it's just for fun. And now that his life has consequences, you're suddenly not interested? Look, I'm sorry about your situation, she said, but that's between you two. I'm not trying to get involved in whatever this is. I really need you both to lose my number. Click. The call ended. The silence in the room was so heavy it felt physical. Mason stared at his phone like it had betrayed him personally. She didn't mean that, he said hoarsely. She's just freaked out. If I explain. Nope, I said. Get your stuff and go. Where? He whispered. Where am I supposed to go? That's when it happened. He stood up, face blotchy, wine sloshing in his glass, and completely lost it. At least she makes me feel alive, he shouted. You're boring, Adria. You're always at work. You care more about your emails than about us. I needed excitement. I needed more than this. He gestured around at the house I'd bought, that I paid the mortgage on, that I'd let him decorate with all his thrift store vintage finds and music posters. I looked at him, really looked at him. This man I'd promised myself to without paperwork, but with everything else. Money, time, my 20s, my 30s. Hey, then go live your best life, I said. I walked to the garage, grabbed my toolbox, came back, and started unscrewing the deadbolt on the front door. What are you doing? He demanded. Changing the locks, I said. You can't kick me out. I live here. You live here because I pay for it, I replied. The house is in my name. Remember when we bought it, and you said the mortgage would stress you out too much, so we should keep it simple? His face went pale. I watched the realization hit him like a wave. I'd bought a new lock set months ago during a hardware sale, intending to install it when I had time. Apparently, the universe had just penciled this in for me. He went from screaming to begging to silent to frantically calling Sienna on repeat while I worked. She never picked up. The new lock was in before dinner time. His bags were by the door. You can take your stuff now, I said. I have nowhere to go, he whispered. Sounds like a you problem, I said. You had somewhere until about an hour ago. He tried his old key in the new lock after I shut the door behind him. It didn't work, obviously. He started pounding. You can't do this! Open the door! Adria! I texted him through the door. Your stuff stays on the porch overnight. Tomorrow it goes to Goodwill. Figure it out. Then I turned my phone off. I made myself dinner, ate it in peace. He screamed and pounded for almost an hour before the noise stopped. For the first time in a long time, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I sat there in the silence, staring at the new lock on my front door, and realized I'd just ended an 8-year relationship in a single afternoon. I didn't know yet that this was only the beginning. That first night, after the pounding stopped and the streetlights hummed outside my window, I sat at the kitchen's table and stared at the wall. 8 years, ended in an afternoon. For a second, just a second, I wondered if I'd gone too far. But then my brain replayed the video call, the way he'd angled the phone away from me, the 4 months, the line about needing someone who made him feel alive. The doubt died pretty fast. The next morning, I checked the porch. The suitcases were gone. My neighbor, Mrs. Harper, was out watering her azaleas like this was just another peaceful suburban day. She lowered her voice when she saw me. "Your boy's friend picked him up around midnight," she said, eyes bright with the kind of sympathy that's half concern, half curiosity. "He sat out there crying for a long time first." I nodded, not trusting myself to say anything. The phone call started almost immediately. Not from Mason's number, that one I'd blocked before I went to bed, but from every other phone he could get his hands on. First it was his sister Chloe. My screen lit up with an unknown number and a wall of texts exploded in. "How could you do this to him? He's destroyed. One mistake and you throw away 8 years. You're a monster." I stared at the messages for a minute, then typed back one reply. "He didn't make one mistake. He made a choice every day for 4 months to lie to my face. We're done." She sent back paragraphs, calling me cold, unforgiving, broken. I blocked her too. Then came the rotating numbers. Friends, coworkers, random area codes. I ignored them until one came through from an unmarked local number at almost midnight, and my brain, traitorous as ever, whispered, "What if it's an emergency?" I picked up. "Hello?" "Adria," his voice, small, hoarse. "Finally, you answered." "What do you want?" "To talk. Please. Face to face. Just give me 10 minutes. I'm crashing on Cody's couch. I can't live like this." "You should have thought about that," I said, "before you decided being alive was more important than being faithful." "You're being cruel," he said. "I made a mistake." "You made about 120 mistakes," I replied. "One for each day you lied to me while you were sleeping with her." "We can go to counseling, Soleil," he said. "I'll do anything. I'll cut her off. I want legal separation," I said. "I'm done." Silence. "You don't mean that," he whispered. "I've already called a lawyer," I said. "You'll be hearing from her soon." "I won't sign anything," he snapped, suddenly angry. "You will," I said. "Eventually. Depends how much money you want to burn fighting something that's already over." He swore under his breath. "You can't just erase me." "I'm not erasing you, Mason," I said quietly. "You did that yourself." I hung up and blocked that number too. A few days later, drama came to me. It came wearing too much perfume and heels that echoed across my office lobby. "Adria Lawson," the receptionist's voice crackled through my desk phone. "There's a woman down here demanding to see you. Says she's your future mother-in-law." I closed my eyes, counted to 3. "I'll be right down." Diane was in full performance mode when I got to the lobby. "You need to take my son back," she yelled the second she saw me, loud enough for half the building to turn and look. "Good afternoon to you too," I said. She marched toward me, eyes blazing. "He's destroyed, completely destroyed. How dare you throw him out like trash?" "Diane," I said evenly, aware of security watching from the side, "we're not having this conversation in the middle of my workplace." "He made one mistake," she said, jabbing a finger at my chest. "Don't you believe in forgiveness, in working through things? Marriage is supposed to be work." "We're not married," I said. "You're practically married," she snapped. 8 years. He gave you his youth, the best years of his life. "And I gave him financial stability," I said. "I paid off his debt, kept a roof over his head, and supported every career experiment he wanted to try. I'd say we're more than even." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Men cheat all the time," she said finally. "Wives forgive them. That's how real relationships survive." "Then he can find a woman who's okay with that," I said. "I'm not available for that role." She stepped in closer, voice trembling. "You're going to regret this. Do you understand? You'll never find someone who loves you the way he does. You're going to die alone in that big empty house." "Maybe," I said calmly. "But if I do, I'll die with my dignity intact and my bank account not drained by someone who thinks excitement is more important than loyalty." Security started moving toward us, slow but deliberate. Diane saw them coming and drew herself up. "He's my baby," she said, tears spilling now. "How can you be so heartless?" "Your baby is 35 years old," I said. "He made adult decisions. Now he gets adult consequences." They escorted her out while she shouted over her shoulder about what a monster I was. My boss saw the tail end of it from the mezzanine. He called me into his office afterward. I sat down, bracing for impact. "That your ex's mother?" he asked. "Unfortunately," I said. He nodded slowly. "My sympathies. Take the afternoon. Seriously, go home. Or don't. Just go breathe." On my front door when I got home, there was a letter taped with blue painter's tape. 6 pages. I knew it was from Mason before I saw his name on the first line of the first page. It started with apologies, then explanations, then promises. He was lost. He didn't feel seen. He never meant to hurt me. He felt neglected because I worked late. The affair didn't mean anything. Sienna pursued him. He felt trapped. Not once in 6 pages did he say, "What I did was wrong, full stop." Every sentence had a reason. Every reason made me the villain or the weather. I didn't make it to the 3rd page. I dropped the whole thing straight into the trash. The next day, my lawyer called. "Just a heads up," she said. "Mason's already retained counsel on his side. He's claiming you have a de facto marital relationship and is asking for a share of the house and joint assets." A laugh ripped out of me, sharp and humorless. "He contributed nothing," I said. "House is in my name. No joint accounts. I can show you every statement." "Doesn't matter," she said. "The law's messy. 8 years of cohabitation gives him some room to argue. But don't panic. The affair, the evidence of harassment, that all helps. Just be prepared for him to try to drag this out." "Just get it done," I said. "I want him out of my life." "Understood," she replied. There was a beat of silence. Then, "By the way, the police report you filed yesterday, that's going to be very useful." I frowned. "What police report?" She hesitated. "You didn't file one?" "No," I said slowly. "Then ignore me," she said. "I must be ahead of the timeline. Call me if anything happens." I didn't have to wait long. That night at around 2 a.m., he showed up. The banging on the door jolted me out of a dead sleep. My heart thudded as I grabbed my phone and checked the time. 2:07 a.m. "Adria!" His voice slurred and loud. "I know you're in there. Open up." I wrapped my robe around myself, walked to the door, and stood on the other side of it. "Leave," I said. "Go sleep it off somewhere else." "You can't kick me out of my own house," he slurred. "This is mine too." "It's not," I said. "Your name is not on the deed. You moved out when I caught you cheating. You need to leave." "I have nowhere to go," he yelled, voice cracking. "Do you even care that I'm struggling?" Honest answer? Yeah, a little. You don't spend 8 years with someone and just flip a switch. But caring didn't mean I had to set myself on fire to keep him warm. I called the police. By the time they got there, he'd gone from pounding on the door to sitting on the porch steps, head in his hands. They talked to him first, then knocked. "Ma'am," one officer said when I opened the door. "He says this is his house." I handed them a folder with a copy of the deed and mortgage statements. "It's not," I said. "It's mine. He moved out after I discovered his affair. He keeps coming back and harassing me." They flipped through the papers, shared a look, then turned back to him. They couldn't arrest him for heartbreak, but they could, and did, tell him to leave. They warned him about trespassing. He left eventually, stumbling down the sidewalk, shouting that he'd make me pay for this. The next morning, I found my car. Keyed. Deep, jagged scratches carved along the side, and one word etched into the hood in all caps. "Bitch." My stomach dropped. I went straight to Mrs. Harper. She didn't even pretend she hadn't seen anything. "Oh, honey," she said, already pulling up an app on her phone. "You're going to want to see this." Her Ring camera had caught the whole thing. 4 a.m. Mason, hoodie up, hands shaking as he dragged his key along the paint, stepping back to admire his work like a disgruntled artist. I filed a police report. Later, I forwarded the footage to my lawyer. On the other end of the line, I could practically hear her smiling. "This," she said, "is going to be very, very helpful. Judges love patterns. Affairs, harassment, property destruction. It all paints a picture." I hung up the phone and sat on my couch, staring at the blank TV screen. I'd thought I was just ending a relationship. But now it was something else. This wasn't just about him leaving my house. It was about reclaiming my whole life, from someone who'd decided my love was disposable and my stability was his to wreck. The weeks after the vandalism blurred into a strange mixture of courtroom filings, block numbers, and long, quiet evenings where the house felt both too empty and finally, mercifully, mine. It's astonishing how quickly chaos becomes routine, how fast you learn to ignore a buzzing phone, how peaceful silence becomes when you stop waiting for footsteps that no longer belong in your hallway. But chaos wasn't done with me yet, not by a long shot. 1 month after I kicked Mason out, my lawyer called with the tone she only used when something dramatic had landed on her desk. "Adria," she said, "you should sit down." "I am sitting." "Good. Because Mason's filed a claim requesting 30% of your house equity, half of your savings, and compensation for emotional damages caused by you ending the relationship abruptly." I stared at the wall. "He cheated on me." "Yes," she said, "and then he keyed your car, and trespassed, and violated the verbal no-contact warning police gave him, and we have all of it documented." "So, he's delusional?" "Spectacularly." I let out a long breath. "Can he actually make any of that stick?" "No, but he can slow things down. He wants to cause you pain on the way out." I sat there in my living room, the same one where I'd found him giggling on a video call with Sienna, and realized he was still trying to punish me for choosing myself. Fine. If he wanted a war, he'd chosen the wrong woman to underestimate. But Mason wasn't done trying the emotional angle. He never was. 2 nights later, I got home from work to find another note taped to my door. Not pages this time, just a single sheet. "We need to talk, please, I'm drowning." I folded it, dropped it straight in the trash. I'd barely turned away when I heard footsteps behind me. He'd been waiting, behind a tree, on my property. "Adria," he said. His voice was raw, his hair a mess, his shirt wrinkled like he'd slept in it. "You weren't supposed to. I thought you'd get home later." I froze. "You need to leave." He stepped forward. "I don't have anyone. She's gone. Everyone's gone. You can't just leave me like this. You're better than that." Ah, there it was. The guilt hook. "Mason," I said, "I am not your mother, or your therapist, or your safety net. You destroyed what we had. You don't get to destroy my peace, too." "You don't even care," he shouted. 8 years and you can't even look at me." "I did care," I said quietly. "For a long time. You didn't." His face twisted. "I made a mistake." "You made 4 months of choices," I said, "and every one of them told me exactly who you are." He opened his mouth, but I was already dialing. When he saw I was calling the police, he bolted, jogging down the street like a coward fleeing from his own shadow. The officers came. I gave them the latest update. They documented the incident, warned me again that next time I should get a restraining order. I was already considering it. For the first time, I felt tired, not just angry, not just hurt, exhausted, but the storm was building toward one final, massive, inevitable collision. The day of the court hearing. He wore a wrinkled suit, hands shaking, eyes darting toward me, like I was both a ghost and a threat. His lawyer, an overworked man with defeated posture, kept rubbing his forehead. My lawyer sat beside me, serene, poised, radiating the calm confidence of someone who knows they're holding every winning card. The judge looked tired, the docket was full. But the second Mason's lawyer started speaking, trying to argue Mason's rightful share of my property. The judge held up a hand. "Let's address the elephant in the room," she said dryly. "Mr. Hale, Mason, we have documented evidence of your adultery, harassment, property destruction, and repeated contact after being told not to. Why exactly do you believe you're entitled to your ex-partner's assets?" Mason swallowed audibly. I wasn't myself. I was under emotional distress." The judge arched an eyebrow. "Emotional distress you put yourself in?" He faltered, mumbled something about feeling neglected and how I worked too much. My lawyer didn't even have to speak. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Hale, being bored in a relationship is not legal grounds for vandalizing someone's property or demanding their assets." His attorney pinched the bridge of his nose like he wanted to evaporate. Then Mason tried one last move. He stood, addressed the court directly. "Your Honor, I made a terrible mistake. I want to fix my relationship. Adria won't even give me a chance." The judge's face hardened. "Ma'am," she said, turning to me, "do you wish to reconcile?" "No," I said simply. That single syllable carried 8 years of weight. The judge nodded. "Then there is nothing to fix." She ruled, quickly, decisively. Mason would receive a small one-time cash settlement, his car, his personal belongings. That was it. No alimony, no claim to my house, no revisiting the settlement. He signed the papers, sobbing. Mascara black streaks blurred down his face, except he wasn't wearing mascara. Just grief, or embarrassment, or rage, or all three. Outside the courthouse, he tried one more time. "I hope you're happy now," he said, voice shaking. "I'm getting there," I replied. I lost everything because of you. No, I said. You lost everything because you cheated. He looked at me then, really looked, and I saw it. The moment he understood none of this would sway me, that I'd truly, finally left him behind. I really did love you, he whispered. Maybe, I said, but not enough to not betray me. He didn't follow me when I walked away. And just like that, the storm was over. The aftermath? Messy, predictable. Sienna ghosted him after her own boyfriend found out and blew everything up. Chloe apologized months later when the full truth surfaced. Diane still tells anyone who will listen that I ruined her son's life. Mason moved in with a coworker for a while before slinking back to his mother's house. He's working a job he hates, driving the same car he keyed in anger. And from what I hear, he still insists that if I'd just forgiven him, everything would be fine. As for me, some nights are lonely, but they're honest. Quiet. Mine. I bought myself a new car, upgraded the lock system on my home. Symbolic, maybe, but also satisfying as hell. Started therapy, started living again. Not dating, not even looking. Just rebuilding the life I let him take up too much space in. People ask if I regret it, if I should have tried harder, listened more, given him a chance to explain. Then I remember the moment, the exact moment, that everything inside me went quiet. His voice on that video call, God, I wish you were here instead. And later, at least she makes me feel alive. That was the truth. He wanted excitement, chaos, drama. Women who reflected his lack of stability back at him. He wanted to feel alive. Well, now he is. Broke, living with his mother, paying off court fees, figuring out consequences for the first time in his adult life. Me, I'm not dead, I'm free. Sometimes closure is a conversation. Sometimes it's forgiveness. Sometimes it's a long talk, a mutual decision, a hug, goodbye. And sometimes closure is a new lock and a quiet dinner in your own house.